everyone! Today I wanted to do my second devlog on my modular rigging add-on that I've been making for Blender. I've been working on it for about 3 months and I really wanted to show off what it was working like so far, so let's get into it. So to start with, if you hit Shift A in the armature add menu, you'll have a new option, sewed armature. And with sewed armature, it just creates an armature with some settings that makes it more visually appealing right off the bat. It creates a root bone that's just named root right here, which is nice because then you don't have to create one by default. Now, as for the add-on, I created a little pop-up menu that you can extend right here. And it's in 3 different spots in Blender. One is the pop-up right here. The other is in the end panel, and lastly, it'll be in the armature data panel. And in the armature data panel, this is nice because you can just drag it out. The reason why I have it in 3 spots depends on what you're currently doing. Like if you're making rigs and such, a lot of the time you want to have the item panel up. And if I had it just in the end panel, you'd have to go back and forth between these, which I'd find relatively annoying. So I made a pop-up that you just pop up my window with. Now, as for what you actually do inside of here, essentially you'll be able to pop in a bunch of rig modules. And what that are, if I just press for say the leg here, is it's bones that are like inside of a text file. So save to like a text file, and then you can kind of like pop them in, which is really nice because then we can essentially start popping in all of the parts of our rig that we want. Eventually I have a button that just puts them all the way in here. I haven't quite finished the head module for this yet though, so that's still a work in progress. Now, all of these are modules, and I'll talk more about that once I parent these together. But this add-on basically works off of parenting to procedurally generate a working rig with IK, FK, and IK, FK swapping and stuff like that. And the parenting essentially tells it what it should be linked to. So now we gotta like symmetrize this rig right here. To actually generate the rig, it's as simple as just going over here and pressing generate. And you see it actually builds it right in front of you, that was one of the hardest things to get to work with this, because instead of Blender freezing, you can actually visually see it getting put together. Now, you probably couldn't see it up here for the millisecond it was there, but there's actually a loading bar that goes across here while it's generating them, so that way, as you're waiting, you can see that stuff is happening. But now to kind of see the IK-FK swap that I was talking about, these are the FK legs for the modules, and then these are the IK, right? And at the moment I don't have my Python UI. I'm hoping to get a Python UI in the items tab after this that just creates all the UI that you want. But for now, if I click on here, I have my custom property that it generated. And it was actually able to understand that I wanted this foot's IK-FK swap to be linked up to this leg's IK-FK swap as well. It works exactly the same with the hands up here. So if I grab the IK hands, kind of drag them around, if we go up to the shoulder as well, we can select its IK-FK swap, and you'll see it moves the hand from the IK to the FK as well. And if I were to grab the FK arm now and drag this around, it would move as it should be. And then we have an FK hand in here as well. And this is all generated from the deforming bones, so there was no rigs ahead of time. This is all procedural code basically. And to demonstrate this, if I just Control Z, this actually creates the undo steps for this. So since we're back here, you can actually create like 6 arms per se, just by simply duplicating these. So if I turn on the symmetry, we'll be able to do it on both sides. Let me also change this to active, so that way it's actually moving appropriately. And what's nice about this being procedural is you can parent these to any of the bones. So the way that I see it is when it's modular, you should be able to parent however you want this to work, and it should just generate it correctly, essentially. That's at least my thought process on it. So if we move this down now, you can see that this one is connected to spine 1, this one's spine 2, and this one's spine 3. And then now with that set up, we can just go ahead and press generate rigs again. and you can see, now you can actually see the progress bar since it's a bit longer. And you'll see it go through, and we finished up our rig array. And if it did it correctly, all of the FK and IK should be linked up as so. And we should be able to grab the IK hand and just pick it up. Or, let me see. Am I grabbing it? Yeah, there we go. I thought I grabbed it there, but then I didn't. But now that we got that right, it should also work with X symmetry. So if we turn that on, you'll notice that both IK, FK are named correctly to each other, so left and right. And that's because it actually uses the deforming bone names to influence how the IK, like all the controllers and like MCH bones behind the scenes are generated name-wise. Now, what's really important for me in a modular rig is you should be able to delete whatever the heck you want, even if it's not perfectly symmetrical. So if I go back to where we were generating these, you'll notice that I drag the hands down with it, but what if we don't want a hand right here? Like, we just want this to be a limb, right? And we can go ahead and just delete that hand. And what if this side lost the entire arm and we just had like a shoulder, right? And maybe we're also missing an arm up here. So to say we just had a shoulder here, and this one's missing an arm, even though they're not symmetrical, it should still be able to generate the rig exactly how it should be generated. So right here, we'll have our FK shoulders that we can move up and down. And as you can see, the rig's still generated perfectly. And down here, rather than using the IK hand like we were here, we actually get this IK back here that lets us move the arm freely on its own. And you'll notice on this one, it also has this, but it's smart enough that it actually just parents it to the hand bone whenever we have it linked up, like so. And you can see now if I go ahead and grab the IK hand right here and just start dragging it around, you can see it's taking it with because it parented it, which is coding all this was so hard. This it took me like 3 months. And while I was coding all of the armatures, I really wanted them to be the best that they could be. So I looked up a lot of courses that I could follow to improve my rigging skills, and the one that helped me out so much was this one right here, The Art of Effective Rigging. This is the guy right here. His course is so amazing. I highly recommend it. Can't recommend it enough. Back to the rigging on. And so I spent about a month of my time trying to improve my rigging skills, and it gave me the perfect understanding of how to do modularity correctly. But oh my god, was it so confusing. With modular rigging, if I go back a bit, you have to be able to go forwards and backwards. And what I mean by that is, say I were to generate the foot first and then generate the leg, it should work exactly the same as if I had generated the leg first and the foot after. And to demonstrate that, if I press V to get into my little menu here, I can generate the foot just by doing this one as a single, which is also really nice. You just generate a single rig at a time, and that'll do all the feet rigs at once. And then if I wanted to do like the leg or the arm rigs, we could just go ahead and generate just the leg rig like this. And essentially, this should be able to work just like this. And you can see it sets up the IK, even though I had their scripts running separately. And that's exactly how it should work. And now if we just go back, and I did the foot first, so if we were to do the leg now, so we went ahead and generated the leg first, and then did the foot after that, this should still be able to understand I want it to go like this. So essentially, what are all these red bones on these rigs? So they're basically temporary bones. In most cases, this one's not so much of a temporary bone, but these ones that point up and out are basically temporary bones that say where you want your roll to be facing by placing the 3D cursor on the end like this. And then this also works as a pull target as well. So if I were to generate the arm right here, you can see it actually puts our pull target at the end here. So we get pull hand, and we can drag this up and down, and you can see it does exactly that. Now, what this red bone is intended for as well is, say you wanted to do manual rolls instead of having it do automatic rolls. I believe it only works with the spine at the moment, because I haven't tried working with it on the others since I've been trying to get the whole setups to work together nicely. But if you just delete the bone, these are actually named direction bones as well. And so the direction bones can just be deleted in most cases if you want it to be manual rolled, or you leave it if you want it to be automatic rolled, basically. But now that we deleted that, basically if we were to Control R roll this, when we were to generate this, it would generate all of our shapes and everything accustomed to this angle right here. So now if we were to go generate rigs, like so, we'll see the shapes pop in at the exact angle of our deforming bones, which is so cool, I think, to have the ability to do automatic at some parts, but also do manual, because if we were to say have like fingers right here, I know it works with the fingers actually. So say you have a really important method of getting the fingers to look right, and this automated method doesn't do it for you, right? Like the way it sets it up, it keeps getting it wrong. You can literally just delete these bones right here. You don't have to delete all of them, like if this one works fine, this one works fine, these two are really screwing up. You can actually just delete them and then reposition them however you like. Like I want these guys to be over here, and the bone rolls don't all have to be the same, because it's just like if you were to set it up manually. And then now what we can do, we just go generate the hand right here, if I can find the hand. And now that we generated the hand right here, notice it didn't have any errors, it didn't have any problems, and they stayed at the same exact bone roll that we set them to. Another thing that I set up is rolling the fingers. I don't do it with the thumb bones because there's a lot of poses, like, you know, if you had to do a let me see, if we had to do like this and then roll in the thumb, I was like that's gonna be kind of challenging. Now I haven't locked the rotation of this, so I actually have to roll it on its specific axis. Let's see here. Oh, actually the reason they're merging together is because I changed their rolls a bit. But if I were to go back and bring the rolls back to what they were by default, right? And then generate the hand, then when we go to roll it, it'll look exactly how it should. And we just go ahead and go RZZ. And now you can see it's a proper fist. But now what's really cool about this, say you're supposed to be missing a finger on your character, right? You can actually delete each finger, because wherever you see yellow is basically the start of a module. This hand is actually supposed to be the start of a module as well. So let me control it. Yeah, there we go. I think I still had something there on accident. But you see how these are all yellow right here? These mean they're the start of a module, basically. So say I wanted to have just like the middle fingers just missing right here. I think this is the middle finger. So say it's been chopped off, right? We can actually just delete that bone, and we can go ahead and just generate the character as so, and it'll go through its generation process, and bam, we have a working hand with 3 fingers, because he lost it in an accident. But now what we can do, say you wanted more fingers though. Say you needed like 10 fingers on this guy. I know that's a lot of fingers, right? But say we just needed to go like Shift R. We needed this many fingers, and we want it to still roll with the control. No worries. You just do generate like you were, and you can see it'll go through all of them, and then we just select a roll, and it'll all roll based on the direction that you had it fit to. Now, here's another circumstance. Say we don't want a hand. What if we want a foot for a hand, right? I know nobody would ask for this probably, but you never know. Like, when you're a monster character designer and stuff, sometimes you need like feet, hands, and stuff like that. Really gnarly characters, right? So being able to do this stuff is just really nice. We can just go ahead and rotate this up, and I do love making my creatures. That's why I think outside the box on these, because I'm like, I want everything to work together no matter what you connect up to what. So now if we were to go like generate, then the IK for this foot should be capable of moving the arm up here, and as you can see, it actually does just that. And now we have a foot that's capable of moving the IK for an arm, even though if I were to click right here, this is lower arm and stuff, and then this one is calf and such, right? So they're different naming schemes, but it still works perfectly, which is another important aspect of modularity. You should be able to parent anything to anything. Like, if I were to parent an arm to an arm with a hand, kind of a thing, no matter how many it is, that should work perfectly. So, say I were to take just this right here, so not even the shoulder, right? Because the shoulder is its own module, that's why you have two yellows right here. It's just a single bone module. So now we can go ahead and duplicate this up, and say we wanted just some tiny little hands right here. And we're just gonna go ahead and attach them to this. We're gonna attach them to the lower arm, we're gonna duplicate this guy, right? Let me make sure this is the active, so then it actually rotates there. And you can rotate these in any direction since the automation is just done for us anyway. So let's see. I love doing setups like this though, so it's kind of fun to show what I've been doing for debugging this sort of stuff. Now I could go more, but I'm just gonna do that, and then we just go ahead and generate the rig. And then you'll see it goes through all the hands. We get to see it generate. But you can also see that the IKs for the other two arms that we just created are actually being parented to the lower arm here. And we'll be able to grab the IKs of just these hands right here. So if I find IK hand, right, we can actually just use this like a normal arm, right? And you can really just animate these together. Now, when it comes to like parenting and such, so say you wanted to just parent like the IK hand to this IK hand, right? You can actually just basically select the IKs that you want to parent. Instead of doing it procedurally, I came up with just doing it this way, because then it's less intense on your system to try and figure out how it's supposed to parent or what it's supposed to parent to, right? So then that lets us just parent things a little bit more dynamically to what we would want. You should be able to have bones that have nothing to do with this, so they should be able to be completely separated from the setup. So if I were to just separate this guy and clear its parent, so we just have an arm with a shoulder, right? When we hit generate rig, this should be completely separated from the rest of this stuff. So if I go to move this guy, right, it shouldn't try moving the FK and IK and all that around. I don't remember if I got the shoulder to where it would parent to the root. Yeah, so right now the shoulder's not parented to the root. I have to code that part in. But you can see that it still parents this stuff to the root, and we can move it all around. Alright, so here's a little creature that I made the other day. And essentially, we're just gonna go ahead and just create a sewed rig right here, and I'll just kind of show you me placing the bones on here and kind of the process you can go. But there's also one other thing that I'd love to show about this that makes it a little bit easier when actually rigging on a character. So say we put in our spine right here, we can go ahead and drag this guy up and bring it into position. And we can just go ahead and scale this. So all this procedural code and stuff, it understands when you scale it up and down. So even if you have to make a really big character, it's still gonna come out perfectly the same as if this character was really small, which is also pretty important to me. There's a lot of important things, but one thing that's very important is the ease of being able to see when you're going around rigging. I added a keybind that lets you change the way that you see the armature. So it changes it to wire instead of or cathedral. So you can press Shift B to do this. Now, say my keybinds don't really work very well for your setup, you can actually go into the add-on preferences. So if I go to Modular rigs right here, I actually made it really easy for you just to simply modify any of the keybinds that are actually important. Like say, instead of Shift V, I want it to be O for it to be able to change. You can actually just click this and then just type in the letter that you want. You actually have to do it over the preferences though. If I go over here and try to do it, nothing will happen basically until I type a letter over here. But now that we set this to O, if I were to press O, it will actually do that function immediately. You don't have to restart or do anything like that. And same with this. So if I change this back to Shift V, you can literally just hold Shift plus V and it'll change the keybind. And it's actually doing it inside of the key maps. So if I were to say type in armature, this is actually what it's changing right here. And so you don't have to go searching for whatever the heck I named my operations and such. You'll just be able to really easily swap it here. Alright, now that I've gotten this far, at the moment I don't have any rig setups for this, but what's cool is you can actually add in your own bones without messing up the setups. And what I mean by that is you can actually just press your typical Shift A to add a bone in. And so if I were to go ahead and drag this bone down, and we could just go ahead and start this. And this is where that Shift V keybind comes in really handy. Because now we have bones that are over the top, but then when we do Shift V, it makes it super easy just to box select these. And since we know this is the head, right, we can double check it's pointing this way, the way that we want. We just go back in here, select it, and we just start extruding and such. So if we just start putting it throughout the body, however many bones that we like for it. Alright, so now that we have this set up, we can go back and Shift V like this. Maybe actually I want to extrude the bones down here. So let's go back and then let's just go ahead and extrude out the back like so. And just start following the tail right to here. Alright, so now that we've done that, and the hands haven't been like remeshed to the character yet, so I'm not even gonna try it with the hands. We're just gonna do it like this. So now what we can go ahead and do is we can just parent it to whatever bones that we want. So we just go ahead and select this guy to this guy, and I'd really like this guy right here to be parented to, yeah, I'll say this guy. And then this guy should be parented to the pelvis in this case. So we go ahead and do the setup about like that. And I believe this shoulder should be connected to this guy since it's a bit lower, right? And this one should definitely be connected to this one right here. Now what we can do, since we got that all set up, is we just go ahead and symmetrize this. And we kind of need a head bone at the moment, so we're just gonna create a nice old head bone by extruding this guy up, and then we can just go ahead and drag this back on the line. And since this bone, even though we extruded it up, since this bone isn't a part of the actual rig setup naming, even though it uses like spine underscore 3.001, right? Even if it's named like this, it's not a part of this setup basically. So if I were to just go ahead and generate this rig right here, you can see that it just generated all of our constraints here, and we'll still be able to grab our legs and such. And the reason we generated this before weight painting is just to see if the rig works. You know, you just generate it and you make sure that everything does, and you can see that this head bone is still separate. So if we were to click on here, it's still just the same exact name, and there's no bones over it because we can hold Alt and select. But down here, still got its regular setup, even though this was a connected bone and we extruded it up, which is also a really exciting part. The fact that I can do stuff like this and not have it have a problem. Now, of course, typically you would have named it something like head, right? But, you know, now that we got that working, you can either leave it like this, or you can go back beforehand and just start weight painting it like this, basically. But yeah, this is essentially my rigging out. Yeah, let me press shift V so that we can actually see what the heck is going on. But yeah, this is basically my rigging add-on and how it's progressed. Let me know in the comments what you think, things that would improve it. I'd really appreciate any suggestions. But yeah, I'll be doing more devlogs in the future, and I love doing shirts on the add-on every once in a while as well, so stay tuned for all of that. I'll talk to you guys later.